She wanted me to raise her affair baby, but I exposed everything. Reddit cheating stories. When I first laid eyes on Emily, I thought I had found the love of my life. We met at a friend's dinner party, and she had this way of pulling me in with her laughter, her wit, and the way she carried herself. Within months, we were inseparable. I was the kind of man who always dreamed of building a family, coming home to a wife who'd greet me with a smile, kids who'd run into my arms, and a life full of simple joys. Emily seemed to want the same thing. Or at least, that's what she made me believe. Our marriage started beautifully. For the first couple of years, everything felt perfect. We traveled together, made plans for the future, and even started talking about having children. But somewhere along the way, little cracks began to show. She became distant at times, often distracted by her phone, and she stopped sharing the little details of her day with me. When I asked her about it, she'd brush it off, saying she was just tired from work or stressed. I wanted to believe her. After all, that's what love is, right? Trusting the person you vowed to spend your life with. Then came the day she told me she was pregnant. At first, I was overwhelmed with happiness. I had always dreamed of being a father, and when Emily smiled and said we were expecting, I felt like the luckiest man alive. But the glow didn't last long. Something felt off. The timing didn't quite make sense. We had been struggling in our intimacy, and I couldn't ignore the nagging feeling in the back of my mind. Still, I told myself not to think like that. Doubt, I thought, was poison to a marriage. But the universe has a cruel way of forcing the truth into the open. One night, Emily left her phone on the kitchen counter while she showered. I wasn't snooping, I swear I wasn't. But when her phone lit up, I saw a message that froze me in place. It wasn't just a casual text. It was a message from a man, saying, "I can't wait to meet our baby. She's going to look just like you." My heart sank. My world shattered. And suddenly, all the pieces fell into place. The distance. The late nights. The sudden pregnancy. I confronted her that night, and at first, she denied it. She cried, screamed, and accused me of not trusting her. But when I showed her the messages, her shoulders slumped. She admitted everything. She had been having an affair with a coworker. The baby wasn't mine. She wanted me to believe it was, to raise it as my own, because I was stable, and would provide a better life than the biological father ever could. I cannot explain the rage I felt in that moment. It wasn't just betrayal, it was humiliation, manipulation, and heartbreak all rolled into one. She had taken my dream of becoming a father and twisted it into a lie. But instead of blowing up right then, I did something different. I stayed calm. I told her I needed space to process, and she seemed relieved, maybe thinking I would forgive her or agree to raise the child anyway. What she didn't know was that I had a plan. Over the next few weeks, I quietly gathered evidence. I kept the text messages, screenshots, and even arranged for a paternity test once the baby was born. I confided in a close friend who supported me through every step. When the baby arrived, the truth became undeniable. The test confirmed I wasn't the father. That was when I exposed everything. I called a family meeting, her parents, my parents, even a couple of close friends. With everyone sitting there, I laid out the truth. I showed the messages, the test results, and explained how Emily had lied to me, trying to trap me into raising another man's child. The room went silent. Her parents looked devastated. My mother cried. And Emily. She just sat there, pale as a ghost, unable to defend herself anymore. That was the day I walked away. The divorce was messy, as these things often are. She tried to guilt me, saying the baby was innocent and needed a father. And she was right, the baby was innocent. But that child had a father, and it wasn't me. I refused to sacrifice my life and integrity for a woman who saw me as nothing more than a safety net. It wasn't easy. For months after, I struggled with feelings of anger and sadness. I questioned everything, my judgment, my worth, even whether I'd ever find love again. But as time passed, I began to heal. I poured myself into my work, reconnected with friends, and even started therapy to work through the pain. Slowly, I learned that her betrayal didn't define me. The inspiring part, I eventually did find love again. Years later, I met someone who valued honesty, loyalty, and commitment the way I did. And when we had our first child together, I finally felt the joy I had been robbed of before. Looking back, I realized that Emily's betrayal was a turning point in my life. It destroyed the illusion I was living in, yes, but it also gave me the chance to rebuild my life on truth, not lies. So if you're listening to this and you've been betrayed, remember this: being lied to is not your fault. Choosing to walk away is not weakness, it's strength. Sometimes, the greatest act of love you can give yourself is refusing to carry a burden that was never yours to begin with.